Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Daily Dizzle for Friday, January 14th, 2011. I'm Tommy Dizzlemits, as always, and we got a lot to bring you today. We got to look at the box office from the last week with True Grit at the top spot, with Black Swan making a gun for it. We also have the worldwide box office, where Tangled did narrowly beat out The Tourist, but we've got the rest of the top 10 to bring you there. We also have a look at the movies coming out this weekend. We've got The Dilemma and The Green Hornet. In addition to that, we've got a little bit of rumblings in the way of the movie sequel news. Yay! Everyone loves sequels! In addition to that, we also have a brief look at the weekend playoff games for the NFL. So with that, let's jump right into it. So let's start the 5 points we have to cover today. Number one, we've got the American box office from this past week. As we said, True Grit was on top. It grossed over $1 million each day, ended up closer to the $1.5 million mark following Monday, which is usually a bigger drop-off just because it's the start of the week and no one wants to go out to the movies. You know, everyone wants to be lazy and go home, get out of work, and then dread the rest of the week. Regardless, though, True Grit's now sitting at over $115 million in just over 3 weeks' time, having been released around the holidays, which is an epic amount of movie. It's the second most successful Western of all time, sitting right now behind Dances with Wolves in raw dollar gross. There is a chance it could make a run for it in the long run, but we're not going to start predicting that or saying, oh, it's going to do it, or oh, it's not going to. We're going to wait a little bit, another couple weeks, see how the Oscars end up coming out, see what the response to that is and what the effect is if it gets a boost of business. Speaking of which, Black Swan ended up hanging in there at the number 2 spot, knocking Little Fockers and all the other releases down a little bit. It had been hanging out, in the top 5, just outside that range for a while, but it was making a real strong showing during the week, which tends to be the case with a lot of R-rated movies because adults can get out and watch them. Ended up almost grossing $1 million for the day on Thursday, just before the weekend. There's probably not a chance that it's going to hang on to the number 2 spot just with all the other releases that are coming out. But still, it's sitting just shy of $65 million altogether, quadrupled its budget at this point, and you don't even have the Oscars out yet, which it's guaranteed to get nominated for. So, in addition to that, Little Fockers, that was hanging just below Black Swan all week at number 3. It's sitting at $127 million, so whatever, it's making money. Tron Legacy was hanging out at number 4 by the end of the week. At first, Season of the Witch and The Fighter were the movies rounding out the top 5, but they ended up dropping a little bit as the week went on. With the case of The Fighter, it's the fact that it's been out for a couple weeks. Meanwhile, Season of the Witch, because it is a little bit more recent and did just come out, that contributed a lot to the fact that its first week kind of shows what its legs are going to be, and there'll be more of an initial rush out of the gate in the first weekend to see it, more so than during the week while it's out. So with those two movies dropping a little bit over the week, that led the way for Tron Legacy and The King's Speech to sneak into the top 5 as the week round out. Tron Legacy, though, sitting at $150 million over that right now, $20 million away from its budget from just its American gross. If you have its worldwide gross of $300 million, it's already making money, especially when you take into account that Disney, makes a lot of toys for their movies and sells a lot of it around the holidays. So, The King's Speech, though, might surprise some people, but it really shouldn't. That's coming off of Colin Firth's appearance on The Daily Show, promoting the movie. In addition to that, they're adding theaters this week, so you're not surprising at all that that's starting to bump up and get a little bit more awareness, as seems to be the case with a lot of the other Oscar movies. As we said, The Fighter did get bumped out of the top 5, but it's sitting at over $60 million right now. It was at number 6 on Thursday. Can't go wrong with that kind of money when it's already doubled its budget. Number 7, Season of the Witch, which only cost $40 million to make. Rounding out the week, in 1 week it made $13.5 million. So they might not end up making their money back at the box office, but at least they'll make something in the long run. The other opener from this week, Country Strong, which had actually opened a couple weeks ago in limited theaters and then just bumped up its theater count a lot this past week, ended up making $9.6 million altogether, if you include the first 2 weeks in 2 theaters. So, it's doing okay. It's gonna get them some money. They can still maybe get an Oscar. I really don't give a shit because I'm not gonna see the movie either way. Rounding out the top 10, we have Yogi Bear, which ended up clawing its way to the top of the family movies that have been hanging around. Tangled, Chronicles of Narnia 3, Gulliver's Travels, and Harry Potter all just narrowly missed the top 10 for the week, But Yogi Bear, yeah, it's still not doing as epically as like Alvin and the Chipmunks, but it's sitting at over 76 million right now. So at the very least, it'll make some money at the end of the day, and it'll be known as one of the subpar performers of a very subpar holiday season. Now we're going to jump right into the worldwide box office from last week. As we said, The Tourist had been edged out by Tangled for the #1 spot. Meanwhile, last week's #1 Gulliver's Travels ended up having a sizable opening in Russia for $9.5 million, but that ended up accounting for almost half of its worldwide total for the week, which ended up dipping to $20.8 million. It had a big opening in the UK where its author is very popular, but had a 78% drop following week because of the post-Boxing Day holiday, I guess. I'm not from the UK, so I really don't know what Boxing Day is. But apparently, the week after, no one goes to the movies. Regardless, though, #4, Little Fockers, made $500,000 less than Gulliver's Travels for the week, $20.3 million. So it's made over $100 million around the world, plus $100 million here, so its budget's covered, it's making money, despite disappointing results compared to the previous ones. Then we had Chronicles of Narnia at #6, still holding in there, had $17.8 million. It's sitting at over $240 million, and despite the fact that it might not hit the levels of the first movie, it's actually making a run for the second Chronicles movie, Prince Caspian. It made $278 million at the box office, so it still has openings to go. So we're going to have coverage of when Chronicles of Narnia 3 ends up surpassing the second one around the world. Meanwhile, 7 went to some kind of Italian comedy release that had a big opening in its native country. That's what tends to happen with these random movies that pop up. #8, we had Harry Potter 7, Deathly Hallows Part 1. America's the only place that can't deal with sequel numbers. Regardless, though, it made another $8.8 million, so it's sitting at $639 million altogether. In the next week or two, it's going to pass Order of the Phoenix to be the second highest grossing of the Harry Potter movies on a worldwide basis. So that's a good news story for you. #9, Unstoppable, Denzel Washington, continues to make money around the world, made $8.4 million. It's sitting at $66 million for its worldwide total. Had about the same results in America, so at least his movies are always consistent. That's what you can always count on with him. That's why he will keep making movies and keep making money and keep getting paychecks, because he's Denzel Washington. If you put Denzel in your movie, guaranteed to make at least $60 million at the low ball end. Meanwhile, The King's Speech, not only doing well in America, also starting to do well at the worldwide box office, rounding out the top 10 with $8.1 million for an $18 million total. Now a brief look at the weekend box office. 2 big movies coming out, which are going to be gunning for the #1 spot. We've got The Green Hornet with Seth Rogen. In addition to that, we've got The Dilemma, straight-up comedy featuring Vince Vaughn and Kevin James. Universal is usually pretty good about getting 30 million openings on their comedies, so The Dilemma is at least guaranteed for that, especially when you consider the fact that they're releasing it in January, which might as well be Kevin James month. For some reason, Paul Blart Mall Cop ended up being a huge success, despite the fact that I don't know if I've met too many people who actually liked the movie. Regardless, though, on the other side of things, we have The Green Hornet, which not only has a comedy, but has the action side of things. Also has 3D going for it, so it could be anyone's race. The Dilemma is more of a guaranteed success for the weekend. Elsewhere, a lot of the Oscar movies are adding theaters. True Grit is already in a huge wide release, but they're adding another 300 theaters. Black Swan is adding almost 1,000 theaters. The King's Speech is doing the same. So you've got a lot of movies who are gunning for the Oscar recognition, who are also trying to take up as much of the marketplace that they haven't already been exposed to. In addition to that, one of the limited releases for the weekend that I'm kind of looking forward to, Ong Bak 3. If you haven't seen the first two, go out of your way to do it. The first one's definitely the better of the two. The second one gets a little bit more crazy because the first one was successful. And this one should be the most batshit crazy of all, considering all the problems they had with getting the lead actor to keep his sanity during the filming of it. So it's definitely one that you should keep an eye on, and we'll tell you if it ends up doing any good compared to its predecessors in America. But now we've got news on a sequel that isn't hypothetical, that is actually coming because they are shooting it. Sherlock Holmes 2. Apparently it's going to be set a year after the original. Sherlock Holmes is still going to be hunting Moriarty. He was the villain that they kind of alluded to and never showed his face in the first one. And apparently there's going to be a shootout at a train station. That is all the information I need to hear to know that Sherlock Holmes 2 must see. And now to finish things up for today, we've got a look at the NFL playoff games for the weekend and our predictions for them. We're starting things off Saturday afternoon. We've got the Baltimore Ravens taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Is anyone not picking the Steelers to win? I mean, they can be spotty, but especially at home this season, they've been pretty good pretty consistently. And especially if they have the week rest, I can't not pick the Steelers. So Steelers over the Ravens for that game. Meanwhile, Saturday night, we've got the Green Bay Packers going to Atlanta to take on the Falcons. While the Falcons might have had that week off, they might have home field advantage, the Green Bay Packers are riding way too big of a streak of momentum. They've shown that it doesn't matter if they're on the road or at home. They will tear a team apart, as they showed the Eagles last week. And on top of that, they've just been doing that consistently, despite, the bomb of a game here and there. Since their last bomb, they've been going good, and I don't think it's going to stop this week, so I'm picking the Packers to go over the Falcons. Then to start off Sunday afternoon, we've got the Seattle Seahawks going to Chicago to take on the Bears. The Seahawks have been very surprisingly good, but the Bears are always ones to drop the ball. But I think at this point, I got to go with the Bears, because they're the Bears. So, the Bears over the Seahawks. And then to finish up Sunday afternoon, New York Jets going to the Patriots. A rematch of what was supposed to be one of the biggest games of this season on Monday Night Football, which ended up being a slaughter with the Jets falling to the Patriots. I think, I'm not picking the Jets to win at all. I'm saying that now. The Patriots are going to win. But hopefully this is going to be the game that everyone expected it to be then, so it will at least be close. Personally, the reason I'm picking the Patriots is because I'm kind of hoping that between this week and next week, it's a rematch of their games that not necessarily were bombs this season, but ended up being bombs that everyone expected to be awesome. So hopefully the Patriots will move on to take on the Bears next week. That's my call, and on top of that, hopefully we'll see the Packers and the Steelers. So if that's the case, that's actually very, very, very strong Super Bowl contenders right there. So I won't complain if it is. And even if things don't go my way, I won't cry and bitch about it. I promise. So that's going to do it for today's Daily Dizzle. As always, we do thank you for joining us. We hope to see you back here tomorrow. We will have a weekend update sometime before 8 p.m. Saturday night. In addition to that, we hope to see you back here Monday for the start of Week 7 of the Daily Dizzle. If you haven't joined us before, you can always catch up on the previous editions, or you can see some of our other original content. We've got some good music videos for movies such as The Dark Knight, Superbad, Rocky Balboa, Adventureland, Beetlejuice, 1408, and plenty others. So if you haven't seen our channel, click our name, or you can go to youtube.com/Dizzlemits and check all that out. You're bound to kill at least a couple hours if you really get lost in it. As always, we do thank you for joining us. We hope to see you back here for our newest stuff coming up. I'm Tommy Dizzlemits for the Daily Dizzle. We'll see you guys later.